Rainbow Reflections, Book 1, Chapter 32, Son and Daughter. Ren was happy to see that the school was back to normal in no time. Hyuktu told his children that C3 had been working with the possessive spirit, but that he had been used. He made it clear that the twins were not to discuss the matter, especially in public. Of course, Zin couldn't resist telling Sarala, but the siblings otherwise kept their promise to their father and did not speak of it to anyone else. C3 now avoided the twins and Sarala, refusing to talk to them in classes or outside them. He stopped making rude remarks and asking so many questions, staying quiet in class after his near expulsion. The other students were terrified at what had happened with the spirits, and a lot of them felt anger towards spirits after. Fern told the students that she was a spirit to quell their bitter feelings, which surprisingly worked. A good number of students had their wounds healed by Fern, and every student had taken her plants and potion classes for their first year at the very least. Hyuktu reminded the students that not all spirits were bad-tempered, and that plenty of kind spirits like Fern existed. He also requested that the students did not share any pictures or videos that they might have taken with anyone. Of course, a few students had already told their families or friends, but luckily there wasn't a public sharing platform on the airnet for the files to spread even further. Hyuktu added enchantments to the school's defenses in broad daylight for all of the students to be reassured that they were indeed protected again. He further told the students to tell him of any suspicious activity, especially if there were weird objects lying around. He gave the students a brief version of how the spirits got in and why they had attacked, but left out all names. Once the courtyard was back together, classes resumed the following week. It was almost like nothing had happened at all, though the students spoke eagerly about the events like it had been a thrilling story and not a dangerous situation. Most of the students had watched from the windows as Ren, Zin, and Sarala battled the spirits, so the trio was continuously pestered to relive the fight. Sarala eventually threatened to use her magic against the students if they kept asking questions, so the request finally stopped. Hyuktu, Jabali, and Khurshid went back for the broken ship and brought it to the school, which took quite some time. Hyuktu was confident it was salvageable, but Ren wasn't quite so sure. Afterwards, Jabali left, barely saying a word to the twins. They still didn't know what to make of their father's friend, and they did not understand why Hyuktu had kept him hidden their whole lives. The twins pondered Jabali's role in the mess as the semester went on. Ren assumed that Jabali knew something about Kaokat, while Zin made a mad guess that Jabali ran a secret anti-spirit organization. Dad would never associate with someone like that, Ren had pointed out in exasperation. Sarala gave no input, remaining tight-lipped after she had revealed her own background. Whenever passing the open windows, Ren would glance outside for any sign of Kaokats or other spirits. But no cats or walking trees lingered outside, at least for as far as Ren could see. By the time May 10th arrived for the first day of finals, it was like nothing had happened at all. Ren, Zin, and Sarala hurried to their magic studies class after they finished breakfast. They took their seats at the front of the classroom, arriving early to get some last-minute study time in. I'm still a bit confused by how magic works in boats, Zin commented, checking the study guide Ren had made on the family mirror. Zin, you have a flying ship and you don't know how it works, Sarala scoffed. Dad has a flying ship, and it's not like it's doing much flying right now, Zin pointed out. But, yeah, I'm not the best with all the mechanical stuff, and I don't get how the magic works with it. Is it like enchanted objects? No, boats aren't enchanted at all, Ren said. People use their magic to move the boats around, typically using the environment around them. But some boats have mechanisms in them, like our ship, which are meant to be triggered by certain types of magic, like fire. But how does it work? Zin pressed. He didn't get an answer as Khurshid entered the room. The teacher smiled over at them, gazing a bit past Sarala's head.
Hello, you three,
he greeted.
Ready for your finals?
Yep, Ren said confidently, as Zin and Sarala quickly agreed.
Good. because the bell's about to ring.
And the bell rang. The Magic Studies final was a lot longer than the test they had taken the previous semester. It was a written test once more, but with more essay answers than multiple choice ones. The test covered both semesters' worth of learning, from the difference between magicians and wielders, to how magic helped progress society. By the time the class was over, the students were dreading the coming tests, more out of exhaustion than worry. Zin waved farewell as the first years went to the magic channeling room. Khurshid ushered the students to their elemental cauldrons and told them to sit down. He then had each student go up to the in-class obstacle course one at a time, where the student had to make it through using both the elements around them and the elements within them. The obstacle course was ridiculously easy for Ren and Sarala, considering they were in a real obstacle course of a battle only weeks before. The students moved to the greenhouse for plants. The glass paneling had not been restored, as the plants seemed to like the gaping holes. Hyaktu was willing to leave the panels broken, at least until it got cold. The students had gained a new appreciation for the plants after watching them battle at Fern's command. Fern had the students go up to the different plants, one at a time. They had to name the plant, describe its properties, test how much magic it had, and harvest a piece of it. Ren was quite pleased that she got the spiky plant, which had stabbed her with one of its spikes at the beginning of the spring semester. She now knew all about the plant and was extra fond of it for shielding her against the spirits when she had collapsed to her vision. This is a bristle bramble, which has highly defensive properties. A lot of wands are made from its branches, or spikes, and its leaves have healing properties, particularly for fighting off infections. This plant is even used as a fence around someone's house. Miss Oakley, do I have to show off how to detect its magical level? I mean, we all know it's very magical, one of the most magical plants there are, due to its ability to move and shoot spikes. Fern smiled softly. Quite true. I'd rather not get struck down by a spike, so you can have a pass on that one. Please harvest a piece of it. Ren nodded and walked up to the plant, her wand raised at the ready to make an air shield if necessary. Reaching her hand out and smiling at the bramble, she hummed softly to it, imagining the energy around her glowing with joy. It made her hum more loudly and feel calm, which the plant felt in turn. It crooned and quivered its branches, its spikes shrinking a bit in size. Ren then stretched her hand out, running it over the smooth bits of plants she could find, before pulling one of the spikes. She continued humming as she did it, and even as she moved away. Excellent, Fern praised. The students had to make a very complicated brew for potions, and they had to do it alone, much to Sarala's relief. She sent Frost a glare from across the room, which made him trip over a cauldron. There were luckily few ingredients, which were pre-chopped. The most difficult part was coming up with all the rhymes for the enchantments. But Ren completed her potion successfully, getting a dark green potion by the end. The girls went to the eating hall, ecstatic that they were done with their toughest test. Ready for Kung Fu? Zin asked them during lunch. I hope I pass my test tomorrow, Sarala grunted. She'd been trying to test for her purple sash, but no matter how many times she tested, Hyaktu wouldn't pass her. I mean, at least if you don't, you'll have all summer to make your martial arts better, Ren pointed out cheerfully. Sarala cast her a glum look. Yeah, if you get your purple sash, you'll be bored all summer, unable to learn anything of the next level, Zin added. But didn't your father say he'd teach us more Kung Fu? Sarala asked. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, Zin said with a shrug. Sarala looked like she was ready to pummel him. They went to the Kung Fu class, Sarala leaving them at the door. Most of the class was made of green sashes now, though there were 2 yellow sashes. I'm testing you all today, Hyaktu called. Yellow sashes, you're up first. Green sashes, get ready. My goal is to get you to your next sash before the year ends. Can you imagine still being a yellow sash? Zin asked Ren. Even if we got green, we'd still be stuck in this first level class next year. Ren shrugged. I guess we better practice hard so we make it to blue. It's not a guarantee that we'll get it, even if we test. Just look at Sarala. The twins therefore moved to the far side of the mat, leaving a good amount of space for the two testing students, Frost and Ale. The siblings practiced shuffling kicks and forms, moving almost in unison. Once the yellow sash students earned their green sashes, Hyaktu took 4 students at a time to test for blue. It took a long time to test everyone, that they went overtime into the Kung Fu 1B class. Ren and Xin were part of the last group to test. They performed the green sash kicks, some self-defense techniques, the form exercise, the yellow sash kicks, the rest of the techniques, and the white sash kicks. They ended with a grappling match, Ren and Xin able to partner up. Ren beat Xin by a few points, but it was an even match. Xin's grappling skills had definitely improved over the semester. Hyaktu gave them feedback once they were dressed in their white uniform tops again. He then passed each of them to the blue sash, beaming at his children for a long moment, before ruffling both of their heads fondly. The other students laughed, while Ren blushed in embarrassment and Xin shoved Hyaktu's hand away. For the rest of the second Kung Fu class, they did some light matches for fun. Once class was over, Ren, Xin, and C3 went to the Tai Chi studio.
"We'll just do the test and be done with class for the day,"
Hyaktu told them.
"Perform the 40 step.
The students positioned themselves around the room, then began their form once they were sure they wouldn't bump into one another. Ren moved her bare feet slowly across the ground, making sure she shifted her weight properly. Heel, toe, then go, she repeated in her mind as she went. Toe, heel, then peel. Once they finished the slow-moving form, which took about 10 minutes, the students teamed up to do push hands. Ren and Xin did a match in which Ren won easily. Xin and C3 then went together, the match more of a challenge that C3 just barely managed to win, much to Xin's annoyance. Ren and C3 went last, Ren avenging Xin as she sent C3 staggering several paces back and won by 10 points. Hyaktu gave them all feedback once more, then passed them all to their blue fringes. They tied the new fringes around their waists, each of them smiling proudly, including the quiet C3.
"Next year, you'll be in the Tai Chi 2 classes,"
Hyaktu said.
"You'll learn how to use a sword. Should be fun."
"We do get magic swords!" Xin yelled, causing C3 to wince. Hyaktu stared at Xin, then said, "No." Ren and Xin had a break for the rest of the week. Sorella managed to pass to her purple sash in Kung Fu on Tuesday, and the three celebrated by playing plenty of games in the brightly lit courtyard. None of them worried about their art finals. Even theater wouldn't be too difficult, as both Ren and Xin wouldn't be taken to the stage this time. They were right not to lose sleep over the art tests. The students had to do the same thing the previous semester, showing off their work and performing their art. The theater production, which was a story about two lovers, was a joy for the school to watch. Ren and Xin had the lighting and sound effects on point. "We're done!" Xin yelled as they left the theater that afternoon. "We're done with the first year!" "Now we can forget everything we learned," Ren added.
"Don't forget everything,"
Hyaktu scolded, coming up behind them and placing his hands on their shoulders. "Okay, we'll remember exactly 5%, promised Ren. Hyaktu rolled his eyes.
"I was actually hoping to talk to you two, now that you don't have to worry so much about learning and tests. Let's get inside."
"But it's time for dinner," Xin complained.
"Come on."
Sorella hurried towards the eating hall as Hyaktu steered his children towards the Tai Chi studio. They then entered the tower, where Hyaktu locked the door behind them. He ushered the twins to sit down at the round table, though he remained standing on the woven rug.
"There's a little more I need to tell you," Hyaktu began. "And I'm sure you still have questions. Let's start with those."
"Who's Jabali?" Xin asked, "besides your best friend?"
"We grew up together at the martial arts school where I was raised," Hyaktu said. "We eventually traveled together, looking for spirits."
"You were spirit seekers?" Xin gasped.
"In a way," Hyaktu murmured. "We sought spirits and tried to lay traps to capture them a few times in order to study them. But then we stopped as we realized what we were doing was wrong. Not that any of our traps were ever successful, and the spirits always got away."
"Is that why you never told us about him?" Ren inquired. Because you didn't want us thinking you harmed spirits?
We didn't, Hyaktu said earnestly. But yes, I suppose that's why I was reluctant to tell you all these years. Plus, it'd mean bringing up Kaokat and other things. I just wasn't ready. But now I am.
He cleared his throat and continued.
Anyhow, Jabali was still traveling with me when I first got you kids, but we later went our separate ways, as he wanted to open some businesses and get started with his life. We've stayed in touch, and I'd reach out on occasion to see if he ever seen or heard anything of Kaokat, but he never did.
Who is Kaokat? And what would be at the school that they want? Zin asked. It can't be you, right? So is it your enchanted objects, like the deck of cards you gave me?
Hyaktu sighed. Kaokat is complicated. One moment, they might act like your friend, and the next, they can be your enemy. If we ever have the bad luck of running into Kaokat again, which I dare say we will since they found the school, I warn you to keep your guard up. Kaokat is an excellent actor. They will pull you in close, then...
Hyaktu clapped his hands together abruptly, the sound sharp and causing all three to wince. It sounds like you really know the spirit, Ren observed.
We used to be friends,
Hyaktu admitted. Friends? Gasped Ren.
Like I said, they're a great actor,
he said darkly.
Jabali and I used to travel with them, and they taught me a lot of the spirit magic I know. But that was a long time ago. Just watch your step around them. There's no telling what they might do to get whatever it is they want.
And you really have no idea what that might be? Zin asked. Did you do something to end your friendship? Ren asked quietly. To make Kaokat hate you? Hyaktu turned away from them, facing the back of the couch.
We fought, long and hard. And that's when...
He glanced over his shoulder at her, his eyes gleaming.
That's when you appeared, Ren.
Ren stared at him, wide-eyed. What do you mean, I appeared?
After we fought, there was a terrible storm,
Hyaktu murmured, sitting on the top of the couch.
And I looked for Kaokat, but I found you instead.
I thought you said you adopted us from an orphanage, Ren queried. Yeah, and then you changed our names and left the country so you wouldn't have to deal with the adoption agency bothering you all the time, checking up on us and all that. Right? Zin added. Hyaktu shifted uneasily.
That's true for you, Zin, but it's not true of Ren. Ren, there's a reason I gave you the middle name of Arashi, Storm. It was in that storm that I found you.
Where were my parents? Ren questioned as she leaned forward, intrigued.
That's the thing. There's no way you could have been on that island, Ren,
Hyaktu murmured.
The island was tiny and deserted. There was never any form of civilization on that rock.
Then, where did I come from? Ren mumbled.
I can't say for certain, but I think you are a gift from the spirits themselves,
Hyaktu said, staring into her eyes.
I think they gave you to me.
Ren gaped at him. But does that mean? Am I a spirit? Is that why I have visions? Hyaktu shook his head.
No, I don't believe you are. A majority of spirits do not appear human in the slightest, unless they know how to shapeshift and choose a human form as their second form, which is something a baby would not be able to do.
What about Fern and Aster? They look human, Ren pointed out. Hyaktu nodded.
Fern is a fairy, noticeable by all those tattoos on her body. Aster is actually in a second form, as his first form was far from human. Anyhow, I don't know where you came from, Ren, but I think it was the spirits that gave you to me.
What if Kale Cat gave me to you, and now they want me back? Ren gasped, her hands twisting nervously in her lap as her heart began beating in her throat. Hyaktu dipped his head.
That was another point I've been considering. They were the one who told me spirits would gift humans children. And before meeting on that island, we had still been friends. It was only after the storm that I remembered we had fought, that they had turned on me, and I thought they had perished in that battle, or in the storm that followed.
His eyes were glazed over by now, his mind clearly far away. Ren and Zin exchanged a glance, but neither said anything. It was several minutes before Hyaktu shook his head roughly and pulled himself from his stupor.
I just want you two to be very careful. You understand?
He asked seriously. They both nodded, Ren feeling quite dazed.
Good. Now, if you don't have any further questions, we should go have some dinner.
Hyaktu unlocked the door of the tower and left, not bothering to lock it behind him. Ren turned to Zin, her eyes still wide in shock. What if you are a spirit? Zin whispered. Ren shook her head. I don't know, she mumbled. I mean, I think Dad's right. I'm not that different, am I? You're different in that you're you, Zin said, offering her a smile. There's only one you, and you'll always be special. Spirit or human or pokebush. Ren snorted in laughter. Well, I've got elemental magic, and very few spirits possess that, so that pretty much settles it. Then let's get some food. The twins got to their feet, Ren feeling discontent as they went. All she could hear were Hyaktu's words running through her head. What if Kaokat did drop her off on the island for Hyaktu to find? Was she being used in some way, like Mimita had likely used Sarala? What would that mean? Was she some sort of secret weapon to get to Hyaktu? But why would Kaokat need her for that? By the way, I don't think I care for the whole he-him pronouns, Zin commented as they crossed the courtyard to catch up with their father. Oh? Ren mumbled, blinking several times as she registered what Zin said. I want to try out they-them, Zin said eagerly. I think I like that. It's kind of like I can be both genders that way. A mix, you know? A balance of each. Well, whatever you choose, Ren said, smiling at her twin. There will only ever be one you, too.